When you first hear Not Like Us, what do you think about that?
Kendrick is at the very top tier of lyricists, not just of this generation, but of all time.
They not like us. That energy. I
Right,
think,
yeah.
Look, the lawsuit thing, I thought that was to make sure that didn't happen.
No, they not like us. No, they not like us. What? They not like us. No, they not like us. No.
Sue Apple, sue Universal, and then have your attorneys contact NFL corporate and say, look, we don't want you guys to involve yourself.
Did you ever imagine a time when Drake, the same artist who once conquered every chart known to humankind, would be overshadowed in such a brutal public way? Yet here we are, facing that very reality. Drake's newest album, SSS For You, was poised to dominate the streams and secure another effortless #1. But instead of celebrating a triumphant victory lap, Drake is watching his numbers plummet, all while Kendrick Lamar's GNX, which isn't even a recent release, continues to crush the competition. The real shocker? Drake's latest project crumbled so fast that critics and fans alike are asking if he's deliberately disowning it to protect his once pristine reputation. And it doesn't help that, over the years, Drake has consistently boasted about his ability to outsell, outstream, and basically outperform every rival in sight. Now, he's forced to confront a possibility he never thought he'd face, being dethroned by Kendrick Lamar in real time. But how did we get here? Where did Drake's unstoppable formula lose its power? And is this the sign of a dramatic shift in hip-hop's balance of power? Today, I'm diving deep into the meltdown of SSS For You, the unstoppable force that is GNX, and the industry-rattling rumors swirling behind the scenes. Join the conversation below and let me know if you think Drake can pull off a comeback or if we're witnessing a permanent changing of the guard. And hey, if you're hungry for more hip-hop revelations, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Buckle up because this ride is just getting started. To understand why Drake's slip is so shocking, you need to recall the colossal heights he's occupied for the last decade. Remember Views? Remember Scorpion? These albums weren't just popular, they were cultural events. The rollout of a new Drake record meant bracing for broken streaming records, incessant radio play, and social media posts celebrating his stratospheric success. He was the de facto numbers guy, the champion who always outdid himself, and by extension, everyone else. But the Drake brand wasn't just about sales, it was about shaping the entire conversation around hip-hop. Even casual listeners often felt compelled to check out each new Drake track, partly out of fear they'd be missing the next big thing. Whether you liked his style or not, you couldn't argue with the metrics. The man was unstoppable. Yet numbers can be a double-edged sword. Once your public image becomes tied to outselling, outstreaming, and outcharting every competitor, failure, even a small stumble, seems magnified 1,000 times. When SSS For You launched, fans fully expected another record-breaking performance. For a moment, it looked like Drake had done it again. The album opened strong at #1, reaffirming the idea that nobody could dethrone him, right? Wrong. Little did we know that an even bigger storm was brewing beneath the surface. The atmosphere around SSS For You changed drastically after its first few weeks. Suddenly, insiders were leaking data, sales and streams had nosedived. Reports emerged that by week 3, the album struggled to sell even 1,000 copies in a 7-day span. That's a shockingly tiny figure for an artist who's been hailed as the streaming titan of our time. Most damaging, though, was how this fiasco lined up against Kendrick Lamar's album, GNX. Kendrick's project wasn't brand new, far from it. In an industry where fresh releases typically enjoy all the hype, GNX was already comfortably past that initial honeymoon phase, yet its momentum never faltered. On week 15, of all things, GNX actually surpassed SSS For You. The slow but steady champion was overshadowing Drake's hot-off-the-press project. Naturally, critics pounced. How could the biggest name in commercial rap be lagging behind a weeks-old album from a supposed rival? Fans, too, were stunned. Many had assumed that whenever Drake and Kendrick dropped music around the same time, Drake's radio-ready formula would claim the top spot without breaking a sweat. Now, the data told an entirely different story, one that forced Drake's loyal supporters to question the invincibility they'd always taken for granted. Drake versus Kendrick Lamar isn't a new talking point. Over the years, the pair have been indirectly, and sometimes very directly, locked in a contest for hip-hop supremacy. Drake leaned on viral, club-friendly hits and enormous streaming stats. Kendrick, by contrast, built a reputation for intricate storytelling, lyrical prowess, and albums that demanded front-to-back listening. For a while, Drake's approach seemed unstoppable, with everyone assuming lyrical rap just couldn't compete with the unstoppable machine of mainstream success. That's precisely why SSS For You getting blasted by GNX on the charts is so symbolic. It's almost a referendum on two distinct visions of hip-hop. Drake's formula, once considered foolproof, is showing cracks. Kendrick's style, often deemed too deep or too complex to sustain towering numbers, continues to flourish well after the album's release. If you've been on social media, you've probably seen Drake fans grasping at straws to justify SSS For You's performance. Some blame a supposed lack of promotion, others suggest the album was just a side project. But the real issue runs deeper. The ground beneath Drake's feet is shifting, and he may not know how to handle it. Instead of leaning in and publicly championing his new album, Drake has gone uncharacteristically quiet. Observers note the near-total absence of music videos or eye-catching interviews. It's almost as if he's distancing himself from SSS For You, hoping fans will view it as a harmless experiment rather than a bona fide Drake project. Even more revealing is his string of social media jabs at Kendrick Lamar. One particularly petty move featured a video of a dancer holding a dictionary, clearly referencing the idea that Kendrick's lyrics are too intricate for casual listening. The plan? To ridicule Kendrick's complex writing style. The outcome? A wave of praise for Kendrick's dictionary-worthy bars and a fresh spotlight on how shallow SSS For You sounds by comparison. Ouch! Somewhere else, Drake mocked the ad-libs from GNX, calling them silly or weird. But once again, the ridicule bounced right back. Instead of humiliating Kendrick, Drake ended up underscoring how audiences are gravitating toward creative nuance. If anything, these insults only reminded fans that GNX is layered, surprising, and refreshingly different, while everything SSS For You isn't. You have to wonder, is Drake's frustration fueling these missteps, or is this just his way of stirring headlines? Regardless, it's hard not to see it as desperation. And in the fast-moving world of hip-hop, desperation rarely elevates you back to the top. What's happening behind closed doors? Industry chatter suggests the SSS For You rollout was rocky from the start. Some say Drake was compelled to release new music before he was truly ready, possibly to overshadow other potential chart competitors. Others whisper about creative disagreements, that producers found Drake's material repetitive or that Drake insisted on safe formulaic songs, hoping his usual numbers would mask any lack of innovation. And then there's the label angle. A major star like Drake usually gets the full promotional arsenal: prime streaming placements, coordinated social campaigns, and high-profile interviews. Oddly, SSS For You had very little of that. Could it be that Drake himself toned down the rollout, anticipating a less-than-stellar reception? Or is the label pivoting resources toward other emerging acts, especially if Drake's brand of chart dominance is fading? One rumor claims Drake is intentionally categorizing SSS For You as R&B rather than hip-hop to avoid direct comparisons with albums like GNX. If so, that's a clear attempt to create an asterisk around the project. It's not a typical Drake rap album, so it's not fair to weigh it against GNX. But let's be honest, fans and critics aren't easily fooled. While Drake endures this public crisis, Kendrick Lamar remains in the spotlight for all the right reasons. He rarely floods social media with braggadocious updates or direct jabs at competitors. Instead, he's letting GNX do the talking. And boy, is it talking. Weeks, now months, past its initial release, GNX continues to attract listeners who dive into the album's layered themes, explore each track's conceptual depth, and come back for repeated listens. It's not fueled by a non-stop marketing blitz. It's driven by genuine engagement. In an era of fleeting viral singles, GNX stands out as a cohesive project that fans want to experience in its entirety. This success didn't happen by accident. Kendrick Lamar's approach to hip-hop has always been about connecting at a deeper level, layering introspection, social commentary, and downright creativity. The notion that serious hip-hop can't compete with glossy mainstream records is crumbling before our eyes. They're replaced by the realization that an attentive audience will support artists who have something meaningful to say. On the surface, this might just look like a bad release cycle for Drake, but if you zoom out, there's a bigger narrative. The priorities of hip-hop audiences are evolving. The same mechanical techniques that once ensured chart domination, strategic features, massive marketing budgets, a cascade of singles aren't delivering the guaranteed success they once did. Kendrick is rewriting the rules by proving that quality, authenticity, and substance can thrive in the streaming era. As more fans champion albums that reward repeated listening, artists might be encouraged to dive deeper into concepts, storytelling, and musical innovation. It's a potential shift away from single-driven hits toward full-length projects designed to stand the test of time. Younger artists are already paying attention. If the Drake behemoth can be toppled by a meticulously crafted album, maybe the path to success isn't about blindly chasing numbers, but about forging a unique sound and message. Does that mean the era of chart-topping pop rap is over? Probably not, but the conversation is definitely shifting. And ironically, Drake's meltdown could be a catalyst for more artists to embrace genuine artistry. Call it an unintentional silver lining to his predicament? The burning question, is Drake finished, or is this just a temporary stumble? Let's remember, he's not exactly a small name. Even SSS For You, despite its lackluster showing, did hit #1 initially. Artists with Drake's level of star power often have multiple chances to bounce back, assuming they're willing to adapt. We might see Drake retreat from the spotlight, refine his craft, and return with a project that redefines him as more than just the numbers king. Perhaps he'll embrace a fresh narrative, something that merges mainstream appeal with genuine thematic depth. Pivot toward riskier, more experimental music might prove he's not just chasing chart positions, but is committed to artistry. Fans love a good redemption arc, and if Drake's next album truly resonates, this entire fiasco could become a footnote in his career. On the other hand, if Drake keeps relying on the same formula, big-name features, radio-friendly hooks, and sneaky marketing ploys, he risks reinforcing the idea that he's no longer relevant to evolving tastes. We've seen many artists cling to outdated strategies, only to fade when audiences move on. The truth is, fans may forgive a misfire, but they rarely tolerate complacency when the rest of the genre is pushing forward. So here we stand at a crossroads. Drake's SSS For You fiasco has laid bare the shaky foundation beneath his once flawless dominance. Simultaneously, Kendrick Lamar's ongoing triumph with GNX underscores a rising tide of listeners gravitating toward more profound, enduring music. This clash tells us that hip-hop, like any art form, is always in flux, and that no single formula can guarantee success forever. The question of whether Drake can reclaim his throne looms large, and his next steps could very well shape the future of mainstream rap. Will he recalibrate, surprise the world with a game-changing release, and cement his place as a true innovator? Or will he stay stuck in old patterns, letting Kendrick and others continue forging ahead? We won't know for sure until Drake makes his next big move. But one thing is certain, fans are paying close attention, and the industry is taking notes. If you want to stay in the loop on every twist and turn in this saga, smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below with your take on Drake's predicament. Do you see him bouncing back to reclaim the top spot? Or are we witnessing the permanent rise of lyrical powerhouses like Kendrick? Thanks for tuning in, and trust me, this story is far from over. From behind-the-scenes rumors to the emergence of new contenders, hip-hop is riding a wave of transformation. Stay locked in here for every update because the revolution in rap might be happening right before our eyes.